Hello and welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 61. And in this episode, I want to talk about consistency, why it matters as a wellness expert, why it's so critical to your business success, and some of the things that get in the way of perhaps you being consistent in your business. So why does consistency really matter in business in general? The reality is that we live in a world where everything is fueled by instant gratification, whether that is instant feedback from likes on social media or lack of likes, if that's the case, instant gratification in the form of food delivery, fast food. We're the fast food generation. We are the microwave generation where you can open up a box and put a meal in and zap it, and in 60 seconds it's hot. This is the world we live in, which makes it very difficult to commit to projects in your business that require length of time, length of commitment, and playing the long game, which is what business really is all about, especially when you are in pursuit of creating a legacy business, leaving your mark on the world, wanting to create a positive transformation in the world, which I know you are. So consistency is difficult because we live in a world that doesn't always perpetuate the message that committing to something long-term is how you get results. And you of all people listening to this will know that in the world of health and well-being, there are so many quick fixes out there. There are so many pills and fads and all sorts of marketing messages that promote this idea that if you just do this one thing, you will get the result that you're looking for. And the reality is that we know through the science of habit change, through, the science of wellness and health itself, that getting a result that lasts and is sustainable requires a commitment to changing behaviors, to changing and interrupting patterns that have often, for your clients, and it's the case for my clients as well, have often been in place for many years. And it's difficult to break those patterns. It requires consistent action. So consistency matters because if you don't stick to something in your business, you'll never really know if the results are going to come. And in fact, that's what makes consistency so difficult. And I hear this all the time from clients, that it's difficult to show up and do the same things over and over again when you're not necessarily getting the result that you want. And I want to talk about that in this episode and how to shift your mindset and also understand the power of consistency to the degree to which you're able to commit to those long-term projects without feeling disillusioned when it's not working immediately. One of my favorite quotes of all time from a very understated entrepreneur, his name's Biz Stone. He's actually one of the co-founders of Twitter, one of the initial, .com entrepreneurs and successful tech entrepreneurs. And he is famous for this one particular quote that I love. And it says, "Timing, perseverance, and 10 years of trying will eventually make you look like an overnight success." And it's so very true. I was talking to my clients the other day about a couple of great examples, and I'll share one with you here. Many of you will have heard of a very well-known authority in the health space, a guy called Dan Buettner, and he is very well known for his expertise on the blue zones. And the blue zones has recently, it was his best-selling book. It has been his, body of work for many years, and has recently been translated into a Netflix series. Brilliant show. It showcases where the centurions of the world live and the lifestyles that they have adopted in order to reach, 100 years of life. It's fascinating. It's such a good series. If you haven't checked it out, you should. But my point when I was speaking to my clients about Dan was that I actually heard him speak about the blue zones about 7 years ago at a retreat that I was invited to. And it was amazing. It was such interesting work to hear about. He'd been on a speaking tour talking about his book. But it occurred to me at the time that this was not new subject matter for him. He'd actually been talking about it for quite a few years. I don't know exactly how many years, but at least, 5, 10 years he'd been researching blue zones. So fast forward 7 more years since I heard him speak, and his Netflix documentary or series is now live to a global audience. It's probably what you would describe as being an extraordinary success and a fantastic outcome for him, for his personal brand and for his expertise. But, to prove my point, looking back on his journey, he has been consistently speaking about the blue zones and this message around how to live a life where you live to 100 plus years, and his pinwheel of specific things that you could be doing or thinking about that make centurions of the world live so long. And he's been sharing this message over and over and over and over and over again, to the point that we know him as the guy who talks about the blue zones. It's this repetition, it's this consistency. But he didn't get a Netflix series overnight. That did not happen overnight. It is the culmination of all of this time and effort and continually sharing of this one specific set of expertise that he has, a very focused niche topic that he speaks about everywhere he goes, on every stage that he speaks on, in every book that he writes, in every article that he publishes. He is known as that guy. So, perfect example of 10 years of perseverance, trying, staying focused, staying true to your message, that suddenly makes you look to the world like an overnight success. The other quote that I heard recently, which I shared with my team, because, I am as guilty as the next person of shiny object syndrome, and I'll talk about that in a moment, of being distracted by the next exciting thing that we could be doing in our business, the next exciting program or product that we could be launching. But I shared this quote intentionally to bring us all back as a team to the focus that we have right now in our business. And that quote was, the reason that most entrepreneurs don't make money is because they do the right thing, just never for long enough. The reason that most entrepreneurs don't make money is because they do the right thing, just never for long enough. So reflecting on what you're currently doing in your business and challenging yourself to think about whether you could still be doing those same things 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years from now, and have been consistently doing them all that time, is a really challenging thought. And yet we all know that building a business, building a profitable, sustainable business is not easy. If it was, everybody would be doing it, but it can be very simple. And one of my favorite books on this subject matter is The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And I'll include it in the show notes because it's such a good reference point for understanding the power of consistency and compounding actions that over time eventually lead to successful outcomes. And Jeff Olson talks about the slight edge principle being this weapon that you can have that most people don't have. And it's the ability to do the same menial tasks over and over and over again, so that eventually those menial daily disciplines compound to achieve incredible results. Take an example in your own field of expertise, okay? Thinking about maybe movement or psychology or whatever it might be, and I'll pick a random example. You don't overcome or learn to manage anxiety through one single action. You might utilize a tool like meditation to help you overcome or manage anxiety. But again, it won't be that you meditate once and you're free from anxiety forever. Freeing yourself from that particular symptom will come over a committed period of time where you create a practice, a habit of meditation, 5 minutes every morning. And the interesting thing about these daily disciplined actions are, and Jeff Olson talks about this in his book, are that they are often very easy things to do in terms of, 5-minute action, 5-minute meditation, 5 push-ups, 10 kettlebell swings, whatever it is. And yet they're also very easy not to do. It's very easy for your brain to talk you out of them because they feel so simple. And so in that moment, you are challenged in the pursuit of consistency with a little fork in the road in your brain that says, well, it'd be easy for me to do this. And I know that if I keep doing it, it'll compound and get me to my result. But, it's Tuesday evening and I'm tired and I can't be bothered and I'll do it tomorrow. It doesn't matter that much. And one day slips and suddenly you break the momentum, you break the cycle, and 3-4 days slip. And in the big scheme of things, that eventually adds up to delay you from getting to your goal or delay you from getting to your result altogether. So consistency matters. Consistency matters in business. So what happens if you're not consistent? Well, let's take social media as an example, okay? And you're an expert in your field, or that is your goal, to become a profitable expert within your niche in health and wellness. And you recognize within yourself that in order to be seen as an expert, you need to show up consistently on social media. And I would say choose one platform and do it really well and do it really consistently. So let's talk about Instagram for a moment. You decide that you're going to be consistent and you're going to show up on Instagram every day. This is what I often see. I see experts like you posting on social media, building enthusiasm around it. You need to do it, and you do it for 3 days. Maybe you do it for 5 days. Maybe you even push yourself to 7 days. I've got some clients in our consistent clients program at the moment challenging themselves to do a 30-day reel challenge. So a reel every single day on social media, on Instagram. And at the end of that 3 days or 30 days, it doesn't matter. You don't feel like your life has been transformed. Okay. You haven't gone from having no clients to 100 clients. My hope is that you will have had some traction. You will have had new leads. And with everything that I teach in my programs, you should also have some systems set up to nurture those leads and, create ongoing engagement and conversation. But most people will give up at that point because life looks pretty much the same. Business is fairly well the same, okay? No quantum leap has occurred. No quantum shift from struggling to extraordinary success has occurred in that time frame. And you're worried that you haven't had anything go viral, you haven't had mega engagement, maybe things haven't even really achieved the traction that you wanted. And yet, if you don't continue, you will never experience that result that you desire. You will not achieve momentum by starting something, doing it really well for a little while, and then stopping. Having consistency requires that you to have the courage to keep going even when things don't feel like they're working yet. It's almost like a simmering pot of water on a stove and you're watching it. You're standing there watching it simmer and it feels like it will never come to the boil. The longest time that you're watching that pot of water, it's just simmering. And then eventually it tips over into boiling point. But for the longest time, there's not a lot happening. Now, that's an interesting analogy because there's an inevitability that water will eventually get hot enough to boil. There's some certainty around it. So it's not as if when you're watching a pot of water on a stove, you start doubting that it's not going to work and you take it off. Business can be a little bit different because we don't always have that certainty. You need to get good at creating that certainty in your mind. And the way that you create that certainty is having a clear strategy. When you have a clear strategy and you know that this is the blueprint that you are going to follow, i.e., you are going to get clear on your niche, you are going to design and create a program that gets results for your clients, you're going to launch that program and you're going to market that program with really clear, consistent messaging. You're going to launch it 3 times a year. You're going to have a nurture strategy in place for how to nurture leads that haven't yet converted. You're going to understand your sales process, whether you're going to sell on sales calls or through, an evergreen deadline-driven funnel. Now I'm going off into, a bit of a tangent here to show you a little bit of what a strategy might look like. And it might feel a little bit over your head to hear all of that. But if it does, then it might be a sign that the reason you're struggling to be consistent is because you haven't got a clear strategy. You don't know that the effort that you're putting in now is going to lead you to the result that you want, i.e. making consistent money in your business, having consistent clients, because you haven't got a clear strategy and you don't know the signs to look for to know that that strategy is working. You're not looking at the data. You're not looking at the metrics. You're not looking at your engagement in the right way. For example, you might be focusing on likes instead of maybe people saving your content. So on the surface, it feels like it's not working. And so you give up, but actually understanding how it fits into the long-term strategy and actually having a strategy gives you that faith in the same way that when you watch a pot of water on a stove simmering away, you know that eventually it's going to come to the boil. So if you're not consistent, you never experience that outcome. You also never build the trust that you need with your audience to turn them into paying clients. And I'll explain a little bit more about this because it's so important. There are 3 factors that play into a person's decision to buy from you. And there are probably more than this, but let's condense them down into 3 things. And they are that your ideal client knows you, knows who you are and the problem that you solve, likes you, i.e. they like the way that you communicate, the way that you solve problems, the way that you talk about your expertise. And thirdly, that they trust you. They trust you enough that they are willing to get their hard-earned cash out, get their credit card out, and pay you to help them solve a problem that they're struggling with. And especially in the world of health and well-being, especially we need to focus on building that trust component. Now, what makes you trust somebody when you think about people in your life? If I think about the people that I trust in my life, it's the people who are consistently there for me, who consistently show up for me when I need them, who are reliable, who are always there, that don't disappear for long periods of time without letting me know where they're going. Who, are reliable, consistent, that are ever present in my life. That's my inner circle. And I'm sure it's the same for you. And so how does this translate for you thinking about building your profitable business as a wellness expert? Well, if you're posting on social media or showing up or emailing your audience and you're doing that for a few weeks and then suddenly you go AWOL and you're completely missing and there's no content from you and no one's hearing from you and, you drop off the face of the earth and then you kind of come back again and a few days you're posting again and then you disappear and you can sort of see where I'm going with this. It doesn't exactly breed a feeling of trust and reliability and connection. So why does it matter for you to be consistent even when it feels like it's not working? Because you're proving yourself to your audience. You're proving that you are somebody that they can trust. You are somebody that can help them to change their life, right? They need to be prepared to entrust you, not only with their money, but also with their life transformation to solve symptoms that they may have been struggling with for years and years and years. They need to trust you enough to take them on a journey to change their life. And that's a big ask of somebody. So how are you positioning yourself? And are you underestimating the value of that consistency when it comes to building that trust element with your ideal client? Are they looking at you online as somebody who is always there for them, who is consistently available, sharing your expertise? Are you a consistent voice of assurance for your ideal client. Think about how you're currently showing up and the level of consistency with which you're doing so. Okay, there's an important caveat that I want to mention here, and that is that consistency is not about ignoring the warning signs or ignoring red flags. So a red flag in your business might be people are just not connecting with your message, or let's say you have a free lead magnet that you've created, a free training, and this is what we teach our clients to do. So provide something useful for your audience, and you've spent time, creating a fantastic resource, maybe filming a short training for them to watch, and you put it out to, your 100 followers or 200 followers or 1,000 followers, doesn't matter how many, and you don't get a single person signing up for that lead magnet. Okay. So, and you've shared the message, not just once, by the way, you've shared that you have this free thing and you've shared it every day for, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks and nothing. Not one single person has downloaded your free resource. That's a red flag. So what I'm not saying is be consistent to the point that you're ignoring maybe warning signs that things need to change in your business. And consistency is actually what creates an environment in which you can discern what's working and not working. Consistent action is a playground in which you can experiment with this free thing or this free training, or tweaking the name of your free resource so that it resonates more deeply with your audience. Maybe it's tweaking the wording that you use to promote that free thing, making sure that you're telling people that it's free, making sure that you're doing it in a way that connects with them emotionally, making sure that you are reminding them how to get access to that free thing, and that you're sending them to a page that actually works, that actually, the tech is set up correctly and they're actually getting that free thing. So it's a playground in which you can experiment and get things right and improve things, but it's not designed, consistency in this message that I'm sharing with you in this episode is not designed to be an excuse for not looking at the reality of what's happening in your business. And you need to learn the art of doing both, of taking consistent action that is leading you to your desired goal, and also being mindful of how you need to tweak and improve things as you go. And the best way to do that is to look at the numbers, because numbers never lie, data never lies. And if you want to understand more about that, then I teach all of this inside my signature program, Consistent Clients, what you need to be looking at, thinking about, measuring in your business so that you know that your consistent action is leading you to the desired outcome, making consistent money, or attracting consistent clients, generating consistent leads. So 3 things that I want you to remember about consistency. You're not always going to feel like doing certain things in your business, and that is just the reality of building a business. You will learn to love doing those things if you can create some certainty around the outcome that consistency is going to create for you. So we'll recap on that message that I shared earlier, and that is this. If you're not sure that the consistent action that you're taking is going to lead you to your desired result, you're going to hear your brain talking you out of doing that thing. So you're going to suddenly not feel like posting on social media. You're not going to feel like writing a newsletter to your audience. You're not going to feel like showing up. If you can start to understand, and if you have a clear strategy in your business, then you will start to feel the motivation, feel the incentive to do the thing over and over and over and over again. You also need to know your why you're doing it, because you love talking about this message. If Dan Buettner didn't love talking about the blue zones, there is no way that he'd have a documentary on Netflix right now. He clearly loves it. He enjoys talking about it. He could talk about it underwater with a mouthful of marbles. He loves this message, and so he is consistent. If there was a $50 bill at the end of every Instagram post that you shared, you'd be motivated to do it. You've got to get into that mindset that every time you show up and share value with your audience, you're on the path to consistent clients, to consistent revenue generation in your business. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that your consistency is an example that you're setting for your clients. You know that your clients need to be consistent in their actions as well. So all of this, if it's resonating with you from a business perspective, should also be resonating with you from the perspective of your clients. In that, part of your job is encouraging your clients to take consistent action. If they want to lose weight, if they want to get stronger, if they want to learn to manage specific symptoms, they are going to have to take consistent actions. Is it drinking water every day? Is it 5 minutes of meditation? Is it 3 strength training sessions a week? Whatever it is, understanding that you're setting the example, you're setting the tone for this consistency for your clients. You're creating, an energetic frequency, if you want to call it that, for your clients to match you at is an important thing to remember. If you're consistent, you're creating an invitation for your clients to be consistent too. And just that showing up consistently, sharing consistent habits that you create in your life on social media, showing a little bit of a behind the scenes of how you take action and repeat the same things. You have a side salad with your lunch every day, or you take this particular supplement every day, whatever it is. Being an example to your clients is key. And the final thing that I want you to remember is that consistency creates opportunity for both failure and success. It is a catalyst for both, and you need both in your business. You need to continue to create great content as an expert and show up and learn about how to improve it and how to do it better, even when it's not working. In fact, if it's not working, you're on the right path because at least you're doing it. At least you are showing up. If you've got content in the world that's not resonating, you're one step ahead of someone who hasn't put anything out there at all. So remember that that's a win. Putting content out into the world, sharing your expertise and knowledge, and it not landing with your audience is an opportunity for you to figure out why. What do other people in your field of expertise share that gets great engagement and feedback? And then learn from that, take inspiration from that. Success leaves clues. Tony Robbins' infamous saying, success leaves clues, so figure it out. Continuity in offering your program. So consistently showing up and telling people what the action is that they need to take to work with you. Offering your service to your audience over and over and over again, telling them where to go to book a call with you, telling them where to go to download your free resources, telling them where to go to sign up to your newsletter, telling them where to go to buy your program. Consistency, consistently selling to your audience in a way that feels authentic to you. Continuing consistently to stretch and challenge yourself in your business, to push yourself out of your comfort zone, consistently showing up even when it feels difficult. All of these things are so important to remember about consistency. I had a client in our Consistent Clients program share with me the other day that she'd had her first ever discovery call, brand new to building a business in this space as a nutritionist. She had her first discovery call and the prospect said no. And we won't go into the reasons why she said no, but she did. She didn't buy the program. And what I loved about this particular client's attitude was that she acknowledged that that no is taking her one step closer to getting a yes. And that's what consistency is all about. When I talk about it being a catalyst for success and failure and the importance of you experiencing both, remembering that consistent action doesn't always lead you immediately to the result that you want. Sometimes it takes you on a detour. Sometimes it takes you to a mistake or a failure, but it is always moving you forward. The only sure way to fail is to quit. Failure is part of the journey. Failure is something to be embraced. Failure is something to be proud of. It shows that you're moving forward. So I'll leave you with a final question, and that is, what do you need to be more consistent with? What do you know that works for you or will work for you if you simply keep doing it? Doing the right thing is not enough. You have to do it consistently. So, some food for thought for you. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. As always, I love to hear your feedback. Come over and connect with me on social media. There is a link in my show notes to a couple of resources that I've mentioned today, including the book by Jeff Olson and a free mini course that I also have for you to help you to understand some of this in more detail. If you want to understand how to stand out as a wellness expert, if you want to understand how to build a program that your clients can't say no to, if you want to understand how to build a marketing system that works, I have a free mini course. It's called the Booked Out Wellness Expert, and you can find the link to that in my show notes. I will see you in the next episode.